So I'm joined today at the Global Borrowers and Investors Forum by Eric Ligthart, the man responsible for the green bonds of the Dutch state treasury and the lead of the project, which has recently culminated in a €6 billion successful transaction. Eric, congratulations on your recent bond. There's a lot of discussion in global capital and other places about whether the pricing was influenced at all by the green characteristics of the bond, whether there was a greenium, for example. How do you think that it priced relative to the Dutch state curve?
Well, I'm always a bit embarrassed about the question about the greenium, because I think the price difference is not the driver for the deal. So first of all, if your own organization starts asking the question, how much does it save me, it's the wrong question. That being said, for us it's of course important that we're not borrowing at a more expensive rate than for a usual one for the Dutch taxpayer. In the end, we did see a tight price for this specific bond. I think there's a 1 or 2 base points price difference we've experienced, but again, that was not for us the main driver for this deal. It was important not to be more expensive than a vanilla deal.
Another important consideration in the cost is the upfront costs, the setting up the program, establishing all of the various parameters you have to. How difficult was that, and is that a material upfront cost?
Well, the out-of-pocket expenses are not, for us, were not that heavy. I mean, and of course it's different if you're putting a bond together for 6 billion or if you're doing a 500 million bond. But what does weigh relatively heavy on the organization is all the attention it draws, because you're doing something new, everybody's asking questions, everybody has to feel comfortable. How should we do it? So it's not so much the expenses in monetary value, but it's getting yourself organized and getting everybody comfortable in doing something new.
And then the deal was a great success, very heavily oversubscribed, and you just made a decision to give better allocations to green investors than non-green investors. Firstly, how did you decide who was green and who wasn't green, and is this going to start to become the norm in oversubscribed green deals?
Yeah, we had a lot of discussion about how you could identify a green investor. So it was discussions with various advisors. We had like, what are the specifics of a green investor? And at the same time, we wanted to make a selection, not only selecting the ultra green investors, but also normal investors that are in the process of greening up their portfolio. So we wanted to award those as well. So we, in the end, ended up with four characteristics that the investor should consider whether they fulfill these conditions. So one being, do you have an ESG team? Do you have specific criteria for investing in a green bond or a social ESG bond? Do you have a specific fund or a specific target for green? And do you use the information we're providing with impact? Do you do something with that towards your end investors? So if you would tick 3 out of 4 of these conditions and would have that signed off by compliance, you would be considered a green investor. That worked out quite well, because having compliance sign off on these investor letters triggered a debate within the investor, like, do we really fulfill these conditions? And we had compliance specialists calling us like, what do you mean, and what are the further consequences? So it filtered out anybody who was easily considering themselves green. In the end, the green investor that we selected had a 10% higher allocation than the regular investors, and we were happy not making the difference too much, but really showing that being a green investor makes a difference. Will that be the norm? I'm not sure. We needed this type of rule because we have a very specific mechanism of the DDA, the Dutch Direct Auction, which is a rule-based system, so we needed to be very precise about why we're making a difference between a green investor and a normal investor. I do think it does trigger a debate how to reward green investors.
And then looking forward, presumably this deal wasn't a one-off. I think a recent study has said that about 4 billion euros of the Dutch state budget could be identified as green. How much green issuance do you think the Netherlands will be doing going forwards?
So now we've issued 6 billion euro this year. That's our ceiling for this year. That's what we promised in our outlook for 2019. First thing we're aiming to do is to issue up to 10 billion. So in the coming years we will be reopening this green bond until we reach the benchmark size of 10 billion. And I think once we hit that point, we will have another discussion within the Ministry of Finance and with the Minister of Finance to see what next steps we can take.